Hi, I'm Gary.
And I'm Sherry. And this is Molly.
And we're the Dodrills. Well, I grew up in West Virginia and went to college, and my goal was to go to the Air Force, become a pilot. And so I wasn't going to get serious with any girls. I figured I'd get my college in, go to the Air Force, and think about, marrying someone later.
I lived in North Ridgeville, and I went to high school, and I lived with my grandparents. And I knew there's no chance I could have went to college, because they had no money, And so I got a job at the telephone company.
Well, I have an uncle. His name's Ralph. He's about 3 years older than me. We grew up like brothers. And he called me one time I was at West Virginia Tech going to college, and he says, I work with a girl that's too nice for me, but she'd be good for you. You need to come up and meet her. So that was the first seed that was planted. And I think he had planted a seed with her also.
Yes, he didn't work in the same building, but he would come down at times, like break his stuff, and I was at the front desk, and he would come down and say, I have a nephew I'd like for you to meet. And I'd go, oh yeah, bring him around, sure, I'll meet him, and I'm like, he's not gonna do it, And then one day, I saw this car go around the circle in LaGrange, and I saw it coming down our street, and I'm like, I knew Ralph's car. And I saw it going by, and I thought, oh my gosh, no way.
If you go up Square in LaGrange, the second house heading south past Subway is where she was sitting on the front steps.
Little dinky house.
That's when I first saw her, sitting on the steps of that little house.
I just said, no way, because I would have wanted to know, I would have wanted to, comb my hair, but, do something like that. But we talked for a little while, and then you guys left, and I thought, the way I look, there is no way I'm ever going to hear from him. But when I saw him, I said, oh, I'm going to cry.
She said, that must be the guy for me.
I told my girlfriend, though, and my sister, I said, that's the guy I'm going to marry.
I went to church with Ralph on Sunday and then called her on Sunday afternoon and asked for her address, if I could write.
And so we didn't see each other. We only wrote. We
wrote every day. Yeah, my Uncle Ralph that introduced us, he worked at the phone company, and since he's already retired from the phone company, they can't do anything to him.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's okay now.
But they had what was called a switchboard where women would, like when you made a long distance call, they would actually plug you in and all that stuff. So
you had to pay for long distance calling back then.
So he would call me in West Virginia and call her, and he'd say, this is your friendly operator, and he would hook us up, and we would talk, and then when he could tell there was a green light or something on, and when we had to hang up a red light, so he would know when to unhook us. So
we would talk forever.
He was our phone. So that was sort of God's favor that we was able to spend time on the phone,
So we really knew each other a lot, even though we weren't with each other, we knew each other a lot through our letters and through our phone calls. But that's all we had. We didn't, couldn't see each other, so.
And probably it was a couple months after that. It was close to Halloween time is when I came back up for our first date. Was Halloween.
Our first date was unbelievable because we had a Halloween party. And I didn't want to do it because it was going to be my first real date with Gary, so I didn't want to dress up ugly or anything. So all the people in church came, and we put blankets up, sheets up and stuff, and they performed operations and threw out livers and guts, and it was so cool.
You could see it behind a sheet, the shadow. It looked like they were cutting parts, and they'd throw it out.
Then we had a car caravan after that.
We went to a place that was kind of swampy, and there was people already there out into the water. So when you get down and get out into the car and you start walking up, people start coming up out of the water.
But we're not talking about streetlights. It was out in the boondocks, and these people were coming out, and it was so fun. Our caravan, we got in the caravan, and it was so long. And I turned around and I said, oh my gosh, look at all the cars. It was just forever. It was really cool. I don't think people do this, but I did. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time on this guy if he's not who I think he is. And I knew I thought, he was everything to me. But we're driving in the caravan, and I told him, I said, when I get married, I said, I'm looking for a guy who doesn't smoke, drink, cuss, or that I am scared of, because I've seen that in my whole life growing up. And there was one uncle that I just love. He's still alive today. He's the only uncle I have left. He's 87, I think, or 88 now, maybe. And him and his wife, they had the most beautiful marriage. But that was the only marriage that I seen that was really a lot of love. You know, my Uncle Bill and his wife were good too, but I could see more of it in Uncle Keith and Aunt Mary. And I said to myself, I broke the mold, because usually if a girl has, you know, sees that in her life, she probably finds a husband later on that treats her the same way her dad treated her mom or something like that. I decided, I never thought it was anything grown up. I always thought it was nothing because of the way I was born and stuff, because back then it was bad. And I thought, I broke the mold. I said, no, I'm not going to do this. That was our first.
Yep.
But I look now and I just laugh. Besides crying. Who goes on a first date and tells a guy, you know, what she's looking for, you know? I mean, I already knew we were getting married, so I was telling him. You know.
Yeah, we sort of knew right at the
That's
beginning
horrible.
that we were meant for each other.
Mm-hmm. And then we had a party afterwards, so that's when I got my first kiss too.
So after I met her, when I'd go to visit my parents, I wouldn't go anywhere at night. And my mom and dad, they said, boy, that girl in Ohio must be the one, because you don't even want to leave the house when you come home for the weekend to visit. So I just knew. I worked midnight shift at a gas station 7 nights a week. So I couldn't get off very often to come up. Probably the next time I came up was Christmas, New Year's weekend. Roads were terrible, and that's how I was stuck on Pontiacs then, because I had a 66 GTO. That's what I drove up here from West Virginia, and drove all the way up, snowstorm, and she didn't know I was coming. I probably only came up maybe another time that school year, but then that summer I came to Ohio and worked for the summer, and I had an aunt that lived in Elyria. Her name was Geneva Berg. She's already went on to heaven, and I stayed with her. And it was kind of interesting. I worked at a place in Medina, and I'd get off work at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had a spotlight, one of those bright spotlights in my car that in West Virginia we'd spotlight deer. And so I would come by the power exchange about 1:30, 2 o'clock, coming from work. She'd be in the front window, and I'd spot her with that spotlight as we was going through LaGrange. So that's when we got to spend more time together, was that summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you came up because, yeah, we wanted to get to know each other more. But I think it was the third date. He asked me to marry him. He went and he bought this beautiful ring, but I have short, stubby fingers, and he bought this beautiful band. And I knew that it was not, I have to wear something long. This band just went this way, and I was like, that's not gonna work. And how do you tell him? I mean, it was gorgeous. And I said, I'm so sorry, but I can't wear that kind of ring. That was April 1st, because I thought, is this an April Fool's Day joke on me or something? Yeah, that's what I thought first.
And then that summer is when I left and went to the Army. And I ended up with I had a spinal cyst. So after about 6-7 weeks in the Army, I got a medical discharge. They gave me a choice. They said, you can either have a medical discharge or you stay and we'll operate on you. And so I was in Fort Knox, Kentucky. And so I said to him, I said, I really need to go to Ohio for the weekend to see my soon-to-be wife, and we'll make a decision together. So the drill sergeant said, we'll do roll call Friday evening at 5 o'clock, and once I do roll call, disappear. But you better be back here Sunday night at 11. So I hitchhiked from Fort Knox, Kentucky to Cleveland. So I'm hitchhiking, and this semi comes by, and I see him hit his brakes, and he went quite a ways, and he stopped. So I get in a truck, and he said, where are you heading? And I said, Cleveland, Ohio. And he said, have you heard of Medina? And I said, yeah. He said, well, that's where I'm heading. I said, well, then I'll tell you where I'm really heading. I'm heading for LaGrange, Ohio. And he said, well, do you have anybody to pick you up? And I said, yeah, my girlfriend has my car. And so he looks on his watch, and he figures a little bit, and he said, do you know where that truck stop is in Lodi on 224 right out of Lodi? And I said, yeah, she'll know where that's at. And he said, we should be there like 2 o'clock in the morning. He said, the next truck stop, we'll stop and you can give her a call. And So called her, and so she met me there at the truck stop. So that was my one trip home from Fort Knox. That's when we decided we were going to get married, and I was getting out of the military because the pay was terrible, and I didn't know if I wanted to trust the doctors there to do surgery on me. And after I got out of the military, we had been to several church services, and a couple of times I'd been prayed for my spine, and I went to have it checked, and that cyst was gone. I never did have to have surgery. So I feel the Lord removed it. So we met in 70 in the summer, and we got married the next year in October in 71. Mm-hmm. And we stop now and look that we have 17 grandkids. It's almost overwhelming when we look at that to think, wow, we just started out the two of us. Mm-hmm. And now with the grandkids, our son-in-laws, daughter-in-laws, and our kids, there's 27 people.
29 up with us.
Counting us, 29, but we're responsible for 27 people in this world. And
we're proud of
so
y'all.
it's
So
just
proud.
sometimes overwhelming. Sometimes we have to pinch ourselves.
We're blessed.
To think if it's real or not.
So blessed.
Yeah, we know we're so blessed.
Well, October 23rd will be our 50th anniversary, and it doesn't seem like it at all, though. It just seems like we've been married maybe 20 years, 25. It doesn't feel like 50, not at all.
I think because our marriage has been so good and we feel that we're so blessed, it doesn't seem like 50 years. I'm just I have to look at the calendar, and I mean, we don't feel like we're in our early 70s. We can't believe it because we don't feel like we're in our early 70s.
Oh, some days.
But when we know that we have children that's 50, it's like, wow.
Well, she'll be 50 next year.
Yeah, so it's like our life has been so blessed.
Well, today it's just so easy for people just to get divorces and stuff like that. We don't talk divorce. When we said I do, it was I do for the rest of our lives.
I feel God has the person for you because when we met,
We knew.
you know, our life never crossed. You know, I was 150 miles away from up here. So I didn't know anything about her. She didn't know anything about me. But the moment we met, we knew. And so we pray that your spouse that you're going to have, you'll know when you meet him. That's how we pray for our grandkids, that you'll know when you meet the right person. And I think if you're sincere with the Lord, I think He'll direct that. We know that this earth is just a preparation place for where we're going to spend eternity, and it's going to be bliss forever. It's just going to be happiness, and just like when we're together Christmas time and family get-togethers, that's what it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be way more than that in heaven. Mm-hmm. So the advice I would give you for life itself is make sure that your relationship with the Lord is right, because we don't want anybody to be missing when we get to the other side. Amen. And it's exciting at this point in our life seeing Austin getting engaged. So that's the next chapter of our life. You know, that's the first one of that next, group, because our prayer is that all of you will have spouses, down the road. So that's an exciting thing to see that part happen. We've had a little taste of heaven on earth. And so we feel so blessed to have the 50 years coming up, but it doesn't seem like it's been a long time at all.
No.